I really hope I am pronouncing your name correctly. And if you will join us now, Joya, please go ahead and unmute yourself, and we'd love to hear your question for Will.
Yes, you pronounced it right. Thank you. I've been a vegan for about 30 years, and I just wanted to hear what you felt about these impossible burgers and the different kind of veganism uh, processed foods that are out there. I feel concerned that I do not want the veganism movement to be harmed by these movements because I feel like, eating fresh foods. And so I wanted just to hear you talk about that.
Okay, thank you, Joya. That's a really important question because this is really, it's growing so fast. I think, basically, it's a good idea, I think, to try to encourage people who are not vegan to become vegan by offering them foods that help them to transition. So, and I went vegan 40 years ago when the soy milk was disgusting. All you could do was buy powder and mix it with water. And, I was like, oh man, it was really terrible. And the first, I mean, we made the first soy ice cream actually ever, first vegan ice cream at the farm. We called it ice bean, made out of soybeans. And it was terrible, but, well, better than nothing. And so it's been great on one level to see over the last 40 years how the ice cream, the vegan ice cream is better than, the non-vegan ice cream. And there's now vegan cheeses and vegan butters and vegan burgers and vegan, all kinds of stuff. The technology is improving a lot to make it more palatable and more delicious, I guess, for people who have the Western palate. So it makes it easier, I think, for people to go vegan. And then hopefully, to me, it's kind of like a two-stage process. If you can get people in the door, and say, well, the vegan burgers are delicious, try it out. And then maybe at that point, they're more open to hearing some of the things I was talking about here today about the violence towards animals, the environmental devastation, and so forth. And they don't just stop there. They keep going and stop buying. Like, I don't ever buy processed food. But I sometimes, will tell someone, try I actually never encourage the Impossible Burger because that particular one, I think is too processed. I mean, it's got GMO stuff in there. So I don't ever recommend that one, but I think, like, for example, tempeh burgers, there's some that are less processed, sun burgers made just from sunflower seeds, that I would be more likely to recommend to people. And but I think your concern is really important because there's also this whole idea of lab-grown meat, which keeps rearing its head. And a lot of people think it's a great idea because people are going to eat meat anyway. But again, I think already we're at the point now where we have Beyond Burgers, for example, and other ones that are so similar to meat that a lot of even experts can't tell the difference. And so if people can't tell the difference already, what's the point? I mean, why do we have to actually have meat? Because I think essentially the idea of eating meat, the flesh of an animal, if it's lab grown or not, it's like, well, we don't need to eat. We're not meat eaters. We don't need to. So I personally don't recommend those things. If somebody wants to, it's fine. That's their choice. But I think what I recommend is a whole food, organic, plant-based way of eating. And then if people on their own want to say, well, I like these processed, vegan foods. The problem is that very often they're not that healthy because these processed vegan foods very often, make people, they have a lot of toxins, and toxins are really what make us sick. And so if we're vegan and eating processed foods and we're not healthy, that's not a good example for other people. So that's one of the things I love about eating the food. I just eat whatever Madeleine gives me because I know she's she's Miss Organic, and it's going to be organic. It's going to be whole, and she, and it's been great. I mean, haven't neither one of us have been to a doctor or even to the pharmacy in like 40 years, and so it's a really wonderful foundation for health. And I think we don't have to give up our health to care for animals. I mean, it actually works together. So avoiding processed foods, from my point of view, is really important. And we now have a food forest here. We've planted about 70 fruit and nut trees here in Northern California. a lot of the food we're eating, we just grow on our own land. It's only half an acre, but you can grow a lot of food in a small area if you really put your mind to it and put some time and energy into it. And I think it's more important than ever that we start to grow our own food and to start to see growing our own food as a very noble endeavor. It's a wonderful thing, or to support people who are doing that. You know, there's this idea that growing food, being a farmer, that's kind of like a low caste job. And it shouldn't be. It should be the highest, I think, in many ways. Growing healthy food that's unprocessed, that's organic, that's in harmony with nature, that's probably one of the highest callings of a human being, really, to create context for healthy food. It's a wonderful thing. So I think it's very important to keep that alive in our movement as much as we can. Yeah, it's a great question. Thanks, Joya.
Well, thank you. Actually, that's all we have by way of questions. I just want to ask if there's anything else that you'd like to share specifically, perhaps you haven't covered at this point.
Yeah, well, there's a lot. I mean, I think that, the thing to understand in all of this, really, when we talk about like what Joya was bringing up, when we think about the journey that we're all called to take, it's always a journey essentially that's unique, and each one of us has our own unique path. So a lot of people ask me, I mean, I get asked all the time things like, what do I say to people when they say that plants have feelings too? Or what do I say to people when they say that Jesus ate meat? Or what do I say to people when they say, well, God, dogs and cats eat meat and lions eat meat, and why shouldn't we eat meat? Aren't we as good as them? And there's so many questions I think that people have that have to do with how we can actually be effective vegan advocates. Because a lot of times we think that we should try to change other people, and I know what that's like. When I was vegan for the first probably 10 years, I was always trying to change other people. I was trying to get them to go vegan. I'm still trying to get them to go vegan in a sense, but I realized that the dynamic of trying to change somebody creates a certain hostility. Basically, it's kind of like if someone came at me trying to change me, I'd have my fists up, I'd say, wait a minute, it's a healthy thing to defend yourself from someone trying to change you. It's a natural thing. So as vegans, we think we're right and we have the answer, and we want everyone to become like us, right? So we want to go out and change people, and we want to shake them. I wanted to shake people until they went vegan when I was first started, because I knew it was right. And I want to just get everybody to go vegan, because we're going to destroy our planet if we don't do it. So, but the problem is that they fight back and we don't make much progress, really. We create a lot of burned out, and we don't want to talk about it anymore. So that's kind of the, I talk about these stages of veganism. The first stage of veganism is just the beginning stage, which is really hard because we have so much to learn. What do we eat, and what do we say to people, and what do we do at the company barbecue? What do we do at Thanksgiving? All this learning to do. Then when we get through that stage, usually the second stage is the angry vegan stage. And now we're like, oh, we're angry all the time because people don't listen to us. They say, I love bacon anyway. And so we're trying to change them, and we get frustrated. And then we some people avoid that by what I call the closet vegan stage, where we just don't want to talk about it at all to anybody and just leave me alone and let me eat my raw carrots and tofu or whatever. But there is the third stage, and I think when we can reach that third stage of deep veganism, where we understand the wounding that's gone on, we understand the history of this, we understand the things I've been talking about here today, and we understand essentially that we can't change another person. There's one person I can change. It's this one. I can change myself, and I can become a more embodied manifestation of veganism. What is veganism? What is it? Veganism is love. Veganism is love. It's loving kindness and compassion and caring and justice and freedom and equality and sensitivity and joy and abundance. I mean, that's what veganism is. So to manifest my life in that way, that's a big job. That's a lot of work, in a sense, a lot of changes that I can make in my own relationship with the people in my life. So I think if the vegan movement, and as the vegan movement begins to mature to the point, and I mean this really for the health movement in general, but especially the plant-based vegan movement, that we are here to become the best people we can be, and focus on that primarily, to really live what veganism is as kindness and respect in the nitty gritty of daily life, of my relationships with the people around me, and how I'm living my life, and how I'm making my living, and all those things. That then when we bring that being that we are to our activism and to our relationships with other people, that it will be much more effective, essentially, because we won't be trying to change people. The irony is this: the more I try to change other people, the more they resist, and the less I can change anybody. The more I don't try to change other people and just work on changing myself, the more the people around me just start changing. It's like we don't have to make it happen. It's not, we just have to live this and then speak our own truth. That's what Gandhi emphasized. He said, be the change you want to see in the world. And he also talked a lot about satyagraha. Satyagraha is an old Sanskrit word. It means the power of truth. Satya means truth power. So if we speak our own truth with love, then we're creating a context for other people to hear that. And I think the main truth, the number one truth, is this, because this is what we all share. And it's this idea, which is to share my own truth. And this is it. I'm so happy. So be positive. I'm so happy that I realized that the only reason I was eating animal foods all those years that I did was because I was just following orders. I'm not doing it anymore, and it's great. And then stop there. Don't say anything else. Just very simple. Just two basic thoughts. I'm happiness, number one. I'm very happy that I discovered. Number two, that I was eating animal foods because I was following orders. That's true for everyone. There's no one doing it for that. When I say that, I'm glad I realized I was just following orders and eating animal foods, and it wasn't an idea, so I'm not doing it anymore, and it's great. Other people at a deep level are going to relate to that, and they'll say, yeah, that's the only reason I'm eating animal foods too. And so we've just planted a seed. So the idea is we can't change other people, but we can plant seeds, and we can plant them either ineffectively or effectively. And the most effective way, I think, is with love and respect, and by telling our own story without trying to change them. And when we just plant our seed with a pure heart and with the highest, the highest wish for the other person, then it goes in deep, and then their own wisdom and their own compassion will begin to water the seeds that you planted, and that little sprout you planted, that little seed will sprout and it'll grow. And in a few weeks or months, whatever, they'll go vegan. And if you do it really well, they will forget that what you said. They won't even thank you. If you really do it well, they won't even thank you. They won't even know. But that's okay. The whole idea is to just plant the seeds. You can be like Johnny Appleseed and plant the seeds, speak your truth with love to other people, how great it is, how wonderful, how liberating it is to liberate animals. How liberating it is to eat lower on the food chain, to the health that we have, and just plant those seeds. And then as we do that as a movement, I think we'll find, and that's why I love so many of the speakers on this, I know in the Real Truth About Health conference, are aware of these ideas and are embodying this. And I've seen this over the years with this conference. It's really a very beautiful energy of sharing, of giving, of just speaking our truth, and then letting that reverberate. And so ultimately it comes back to the basic fact that each one of us is only on this earth for a few short decades. We're just here for just a few minutes. It goes by so quickly. I can't believe it. I'm already in my late 60s, and it's like, where did the time go? So the whole idea is to just use every day, to give thanks for every day, and to just use every day as best we can to be a voice for those who don't have a voice, and to be a force for healing, and to be part of the solutions to the problems rather than just being part of the problem here. So it looks like there's maybe another hand up, so I'll go ahead and pass it back.